What's up, y'all? New episode of the Corner 3 podcast. You're about to tune into it right now. Little disclaimer though, this was recorded on Monday before any of the injuries that happened with the Cavs. So some of these takes, just keep that in mind. This was before any of the news came out with some of these injuries, even Steph's injury. So keep that in mind. This episode is sponsored by the Basketball Intelligence newsletter. Make sure y'all tune in. Subscribe to them, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button for us, and let's keep growing. The Knicks and the Celtics are on right now. Throw out a stat. Jalen Brunson's career scoring average increased from regular season to postseason 6.3 points. Is currently the largest in NBA history. Showtime. We are back for another episode of the Corner 3 podcast. Excited to be back. It's going to be a lot on this episode, a lot of conversation. We saw the recommendations which I sent today, so we're definitely going to be talking about those topics. Before we even get into it, though, Jarrett, Rush, how y'all doing?
I'm good, man. My Knicks is taking a little bit of a beater right now, but I'm okay. Bad time right now, but I'm okay.
I'm better. It's been about a week now since the Lakers got eliminated, so my wounds are healing, and I'm able to watch basketball without being stressed, which is actually a double-edged sword. The Lakers are out, but stress-free basketball I get to enjoy like a regular fan now. So all things are good.
Can't complain with that right there. I'm definitely in the same spot. I am currently, I don't know what the score is right now, but the only thing I'm really rooting for as a Lakers fan is for the Celtics not to make it or somehow maybe losing the finals. That's what I'm really rooting for at this point. Before we start the episode, just as a reminder, again, I've heard it on every episode that we have had in our existence. Smash that like button, subscribe. Tonight's episode, we'll be talking Warriors next series. We'll be talking about Knicks, obviously Knicks, Celtics, other playoff matchups. Starting off with the Warriors, though. The Warriors are now going to be going against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We saw the Timberwolves, again, not to rehash any old wounds. One of the things that they did well against the Lakers was they used their size to their advantage. The Warriors aren't that much of a bigger team than the Lakers. Will size be an issue for the Warriors this upcoming series?
I think it could be, but I think it just depends on Steve Kerr and what he decides his rotation is going to be. I think the Warriors have a few more bigger, more capable, athletic bodies than the Lakers have. But Kerr seems to be pretty set on his rotation that really only includes Quentin Post behind Draymond Green. We saw Kevon Looney get some extended run in Game 7 last night. So, playoffs are all about matchups. So we'll see if Kerr adjusts his lineup. But I think the Warriors are in a much better position size-wise to compete with the Timberwolves than the Lakers were. So I'm really interested to see the game of chess that is lineups and matchups that the two teams play.
Yeah, same here. I don't know how the Warriors is able to pull it out against the Rockets, who was putting a big rebounding numbers, but somehow they was able to prevail. And I'm eager to see how this whole schematic thing with this small ball lineup works out against a bigger team like the Timberwolves, because Rudy Gobert had a big game. Randle was playing good. Reid, even though Reid's not much of a rebounder, but I'm eager to see how this matchup is going to be.
Now, you just mentioned Julius Randle and Reid, who had very big series, played, some would say, some of their best basketball. I know you as a Knicks fan, you didn't see that version of Julius Randle that whole time he was in New York. So definitely some of his best basketball at the most important moment of his career right now, playoffs, where legends are made. Looking at that series specifically, you got Obviously, Steph as the main guy over there, Anthony Edwards. We expect they're going to do their thing. When we look at the others or the supporting cast, who do you think actually will have a better series when we're talking about Julius Randle, Reid, and then when you talk about Draymond and Jimmy Butler?
Man, that's actually kind of tough, but I'm gonna go with Jimmy and Draymond just because they're a little more. I don't even know if this is true. They seem more tested, right? Draymond obviously has the experience. He's been to the mountaintop multiple times. Knows how to have big games when they're called for from the others, so to speak. Draymond actually had one of the greatest probably game sevens in NBA history, but nobody talks about it because it came during the series when they lost. They blew the 3-1 lead to the Cavaliers, and he had a pretty solid game 7 last night. So I think when you absolutely need the others to show up, there's probably no few better others to have on your team than Draymond Green. And then we all know what Jimmy Butler brings to the table. He's like a Swiss Army knife. If you need him to score, he can get you buckets. If you need him to lock up, he can lock up. If you need him to rebound and do the intangibles, he can do that as well. So I think this is a series where grit and experience may come into play and come to the forefront of things. And I tend to give the edge to the Golden State Warriors just because of the championship pedigree they have, and then adding Jimmy Butler, a guy who's been to the finals on a couple of occasions. And I believe the Warriors won the season series with the Timberwolves, and Jimmy Butler didn't play in any of those games. So, it's not a foregone conclusion that the Warriors are just automatically better, because we know the playoffs are sort of a different setting. You can scheme a little bit better rather than just a one-off game and a lot of 82. But I think the Warriors are going to fare a lot better than I think most people, it seems like, from what I'm reading online and hearing, are giving them credit for.
Staying in the West, right? When we look at that other series over there, Thunder against the Nuggets. At one point, I know a lot of people was counting out, putting Nikola, Jamal Murray, and Russ digging their grave. They pull out that series against the Clippers, and ultimately, by the end of that series, they looked like they were actually the better team. We talked about it before. Who would be the bigger matchup to try to stop the Thunder from getting to the finals? We said either or was going to be a tough one. The Nuggets get to see them. Looking at this series, how do you see this series going? What's your predictions? What's the key matchup for the Nuggets to possibly get it done against OKC?
So I'll go on that one. I think OKC is deeper than Denver, so I think they have the better chance. I think they have the size to match up with Joker. Joker still will get his numbers, but you have a lot of defenders that you could actually throw at Jamal Murray to neutralize him, with Casey Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso, even Jalen Williams. So I feel like that will be the key, is just kind of stopping the others. Jokic is always going to get his numbers no matter what. So if they're able to do that, then I think OKC will have a really good chance of beating this team within 6 games.
Oh, damn, we got a first prediction. 6 games. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can jump in or not, but I'm gonna jump in anyway. What's crazy is, I know this, I don't know that I really want to use First Take as sort of like the standard for how we discuss basketball, and especially postseason basketball. But I did see on there today, I think one of the segments was like, what would be more impressive, Ant's first title or Steph's 5th title? And it just seems like everybody's forgetting that the Oklahoma City Thunder are the number 1 seed, I think, in all of the playoffs. They've been sitting at home the longest, waiting for, their next opponent to be determined. And they've got who most people are expecting to be the MVP of the league in SGA. So I don't know, man. I just nobody's really talking about the Thunder, but they're quite possibly the best team in the league, which is just kind of crazy. Everybody's talking about the Warriors and the Timberwolves, and I get it's more of a sexy matchup because you've got Steph and Ant. But let's not forget the regular season that OKC had, the first round that OKC had, and the fact that they've got a pretty formidable team like Jarrett just explained. So I'm looking forward to this series. I think it's going to be a big test because this group, as currently constructed, hasn't been past the second round yet. So they're going to have to go through Denver to get to the next stage. And Denver is a team that's been to the mountaintop. They've got pride. They've got veterans. They still got a lot of guys from that championship team. So this is a series I'm excited to watch. I got to be up at 5:30 in the morning, but I don't care. I'm staying up, damn it. I'm watching game one tonight because this is the series that I'm going to be paying the most attention to.
Predictions. I got OKC in 6.
I'm going to say OKC in 5, man. Give me 5 games. I think OKC is ready. They're my preseason pick for the finals to win the finals. I got OKC in Boston, so my bracket is still intact. But I think they're ready, and I just think they're ready. And I believe in Shea. I believe in Jalen Williams. Harden and Caruso, I think, are going to be able to show their value to this team now that it's the postseason. And I think everybody else they're just ready to prove everybody wrong who's looking at Golden State and Minnesota. And I think that they're looking to sort of avenge their early exit last season when they were higher seed. So I'm going to go OKC in 5.
Jarrett, you got them in 6, 7?
I got them in 6, and to spin the block on the Warriors that we talk about, I got them in 7 against Minnesota.
Can I just say, the Timberwolves obviously beat the Lakers, and much like their home announcer team, the Warriors fans on social media can be sort of insufferable. So I wish both teams could lose. Personally, and this is me being 100% hater rush. But to get my prediction, I think the Timberwolves take it in 6.
I agree with that. I got Timberwolves in 6 in that one. I don't see it happening for them, for the Warriors. As a Lakers fan, also, I would love to see them lose just on the prevent this whole conversation, which is going to come up. God forbid Steph wins another one. It's going to be the weird conversation where they think Steph is in the same breath with Bron and should be a part of the GOAT conversation, which Perk was alluding to today, which is why we try to not have ESPN as our barometer of conversation on basketball.
Bro, this is part of my frustration as a Lakers fan, because what do we hear all season long? Oh, we need to put more attention on the smaller market teams. We got to talk about all the other great things that are happening. Like, who cares about the Lakers and the Warriors? But then the Lakers lose. Lakers ain't played ball in days, right? And all I see on social media is, oh, Steph get his 5th title. And bro, like, why? There's so much. Cleveland, Indiana stole game 1. Halliburton was balling. Nesmith was balling. Like, so much other good stuff going on. And people are always some of the same people who are complaining about the Lakers getting all the airtime during the regular season, but they can't help but talk about the Lakers in relation to what the Warriors were able to do, Bron in relation to what Steph was able to do. Just stop it. Goodness gracious. I'm sorry. I had to get that out. It was on my chest. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's cool because it's very disingenuous. It's we talk about the small market teams, and then when it's time to talk about the smart market teams, the conversation doesn't happen.
Nobody's been talking about OKC. Like, nobody. And maybe it's just because they haven't been playing because they took care of business. But, like, I've heard nothing about Oklahoma City. And they're literally, like, the best team in the league.
I heard Bill Simmons today broke it down perfectly. He said Lakers obviously aren't making the finals. That's a pretty safe bet, right? But they're going to stay in the news cycle. It's going to happen regardless. Whether you like it or not, that's what's going to happen. That's how it's always been. Unfortunately, it's our job to make sure that we talk about those small market teams. And you mentioned the Indiana Pacers stole game 1 from Jarrett's Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, not my Cleveland Cavaliers. I gave my prediction to win it, but they ain't my team.
You predicted them to win. That's not your team.
Jarrett's not gonna be like Charles Barkley, yo. Whatever.
That's his prediction to actually win it. Looking at that series, right? Who would you rather have in that series, Donovan Mitchell or Tyrese Halliburton?
Definitely Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell has like the 6th highest playoff averages in history. I think it's like at 27 points a game, something like that.
Yeah, he's up there with Jordan with like the most 30-point games, I think, in game 1.
He passed him.
Yeah, I think he passed him. So and another like ESPN stat, but impressive nonetheless, right? So that's actually tougher for me than I think it probably should be, because I think Tyrese Halliburton has a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder, which might give him a little bit more to prove because of the whole, most overrated poll. And then you walk in to Cleveland, a place that's been a nightmare for opposing teams to play in all year long. And I think it was a convincing win. I know Cleveland like made a run and got it close in the 4th, but like Indiana responded. I think it was a very convincing game 1 win. I'm gonna go with Halliburton just because I'm a contrarian, and Jarrett already said Mitchell. I think they're both studs. You can't go wrong with either one, but for the sake of being a contrarian, I'm gonna go with Halliburton.
Now, Darius Garland did not play that game 1. It's already talks now that there's injury concerns and they probably aren't playing game 2. And Evan Mobley and another player. Who was the other player, Jarrett? It was one more player. DeAndre Hunter. Huge piece for them. Is there a possibility, especially with Garland, who they said it's a toe injury that in the regular season he's out for a couple of weeks? Are we seeing a situation where it's deja vu, where the Pacers end up with a favorable matchup, the opposite team has injuries, they'll be going into that next round? Or do you see somehow Donovan Mitchell, without help really, can get it done and win the series?
Go ahead, Jared.
So it's hard to say because they need Garland. They definitely going to need Mobley. I think Mobley's more important to this team's success than Garland is. DeAndre Hunter, probably the same amount of importance as Garland. So if they don't have all 3 of them, I can't see Cleveland beating Indiana. Indiana is deep. And, it's funny. I was thinking about this yesterday when it was game 1. Last year, they didn't have Mathurin, and they got to the conference finals. And it's like now that they have Mathurin, it's a whole nother scorer you have on your team. And they've got the team as a whole has gotten better because they've gelled another year. Siakam's been with them for a whole nother season, well, full season at that. So if Cleveland don't get healthy, but why does Indiana keep getting this good luck though? Because it's like last year, like every team that they played against was hurt, every single team until Boston, right? Yeah, until Boston. Then now this year, Milwaukee, Dame is out for the season. Now potentially Evan Mobley, Garland, and DeAndre Hunter. Like, what kind of voodoo that they're doing in Indiana? This isn't fair.
Well, the Bucks. To be fair, the Bucks didn't look all that good when Dame was playing.
They did.
I think Indiana's winning that series regardless. But yeah, man. I mean, it's just the way it goes, unfortunately, sometimes, right? Like the best ability is availability. And Indiana's just been on the right side of fortune. They've had the majority of their team healthy with the exception of Mathurin last year. And this year, he's even more motivated after Giannis palmed the back of his head at the end of the series. He's probably got a chip on his shoulder and ready to ball out the rest of the playoffs. But yeah, I think those guys find a way to get onto the court, right? I think at this point of the season, nobody's really like 100%. And we only know the injuries that are reported. Like Austin Reeves was playing with a toe injury, and we didn't know about it until the series was over. So everybody's dealing with something at this point. It's about who can suit up, and I think Mobley and I think Hunter, one of the two, or probably both of them, will find a way to get out there. Garland, the toe is tough, because I've had a bad toe, and you literally can't do anything. Maybe he gets one of the Kobe shots in his foot, and he can he can do something for the game, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but hopefully it doesn't keep him out for a majority or all of the series. Hopefully he can get back. But I think Hunter and Mobley, if I had to bet, I would say they find a way to suit up for game 2.
Just fast forwarding ahead, right? Let's say the Indiana Pacers do win, or the Cavs come out and somehow win. Out of those two teams, including the Knicks, are any of them equipped to actually stop the Celtics from getting back to the finals, or is this kind of a foregone conclusion?
We got. If the Knicks get it together in game 1, then yeah, they can beat them, but they're down 17 now. So after Derek White just hit a 3. So, but I don't think Indiana's going to beat them. Cleveland, I think Cleveland can beat them, but Indiana, I don't think they're going to be able to beat them.
Yeah, I've had a rough first game though, with foul trouble, Cat in foul trouble, Josh Hart in foul trouble, and y'all not a deep team. Some would say that it might be something there, but Tibbs refuses to play past 8, so we never know.
Can I go on another rant real quick? I love Tibbs. I love him. He brought us back to prosperity, brought us back to the playoffs with Randle, so they hold a very dear spot in my heart. But it might be time to move on from Tibbs. Based on not playing your players, like the fact that Achula hasn't played until tonight is like he played really good last playoffs. So you would think he would play. Landry Shamet, I mean, for what he is, he's decent. Like I feel like he could have got some playoff minutes. Even Campaign, Campaign feel like he's like the 6th man on this team. And even if I thought Hawk 40, the rookie, the big, I thought he got some minutes too, at least like 5-10 minutes, especially how Mitchell Robinson, his injury history, and like he gave us good minutes during the regular season. So why not throw him out there for some stretches? So, but yeah, it might be time to get rid of Tibbs. Maybe we could get Mike Malone. Maybe, I don't know. What's you thinking?
I like Mike Malone anywhere where there's an opening. What's scary about Boston, like in this series in particular, one of the more, I think, probably the most prolific 3-point shooting team in NBA history. I believe they broke the record this year. They're shooting 7 for 30 from 3-point range in game 1, and they're up 15 points. I would think the scouting report is if you keep Boston shooting poorly from 3, you've got a chance, because that's the focal point, or one of the top 2 or 3 focal points of their offense. And they're shooting very poorly in game 1, yet they're still up comfortably against New York. So that doesn't really bode well, because statistics, the law of averages would have you think that Boston's only going to shoot better than what they're shooting right now. And, New York's not able to take advantage of it. So I think what's happening is that general malaise that can happen when a team is just really good and you kind of, they kind of coast at certain points of the season and, they sit guys and then some guys come back. Boston is real, like newsflash, Boston is still elite. And that's no knock against the Knicks. They are a very talented basketball team. Tibbs rotations notwithstanding. But Boston's just good. They're the defending champs, right? And, they're not just going to give their reign away. Somebody's going to have to come and take it. And, you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and Drew Holiday. Like, that's probably the best starting five in the association. So, good luck to anybody. So I don't know. I think Cleveland can make it interesting. New York, if they can figure some things out, can probably make it somewhat interesting. But I think at the end of the day, it's Boston OKC in the finals. It's just how I feel about it.
Hey, something to point out too, though, with this game, right? The Knicks are 10 of 21 from the free throw line. Hey, you get into the free throw line. If you make at least maybe 8 more of those, it's not a 20-point. It's not a 20-point lead.
I was about to say that.
That's fair.
On the flip side, you see the Celtics. They 16 for 20. It's free. These are free throws. You don't play with your food. You get there. You gotta knock them down. I don't want to. This seems very cathartic. I think I forgot what the word is. Therapeutic. We'll go with the more simpler word for Jarrett. I didn't want to cut you off if you had anything else you wanted to share.
Yeah, because Cat just got his 4th foul, so and then to be down 20 with him having 4 fouls. But didn't I tell y'all this at the beginning of the season when we got the trade? This has always been the thing with Cat, the foul trouble. This is what scares me with him. He always get in foul trouble, and for you to now playoff time, I started to believe in you and started to change my tune about him, and then going back to his old ways.
When he was in, which I think you could get some hope from this. When he was in, he was kicking. He was doing his thing when he was in. Celtics really didn't have an answer for the man. But it's the foul trouble, and it's the dumb fouls. Not to call him dumb, but it's the dumb fouls. He had 2. They're driving in. Somebody else got to come step in. Why are you riding Jaylen Brown? Like, it's just those type of fouls where you're not thinking, we need you in the game. And everybody on the team know. Mikal Bridges talked about it. Tibbs ain't playing nobody else. Tibbs, y'all know this. You have to be smarter. Your coach is not going to put nobody else in. Mitchell Robinson is the only big coming off the bench. Precious is preciously sitting on that bench, real comfortable. He probably got the little back brace thing to make sure his back good. He know he not getting off the bench. Shaman know he not getting off the bench. They just along for the ride. They just there like, all right, we in Boston. Get me some lobster tails and some good seafood. And that's it, because they not playing. So that's something to look at. There's some teams that we obviously know that did not make it, and they have some questions that are starting today. Their offseason started soon as they lost. And one of the questions that has been trending on Threads, specifically at the mayor, specifically at our fellow co-host, is about Jalen Green. Rush has made it clear and evident that he does not want to give up on Jalen Green. It was the first playoffs for him. Your first playoffs, you go against the champs. They didn't win recently, but we know they are champions. That's a tough matchup to go against. Do you think the Rockets need to trade Jalen Green? Has your tune changed at all regarding Jalen Green, Rush, and then Jarrett? Of course, if you want to chime in and say, ship him off to Afghanistan, be my guest.
For all of the things that potentially controversial that I've said, I didn't realize that this would be one I got to answer for on the podcast. But yeah, I don't feel any differently. I think Jalen had a very subpar performance overall in this series. And I know professional sports, especially the association, doesn't grant a lot of grace when it comes to the postseason. If you're there, you're expected to perform. Very, very rarely do you get any sort of leash with grace. So I get that, and hopefully Jalen does too. And I think he's got the right head coach to sort of hold him accountable with that. But I think there's a difference, right? There's a difference between the regular season and what you do there and what is expected in the playoffs and the intensity and the fact that you're actually schemed for. And this is the first time that he's really had to deal with that. So while it would have been great, provided that the talent that I think a lot of people see when they look at him, the potential that's sort of oozing out of him, that he would have performed up to, more of a game 2 performance throughout the series, that would have been great. The reality was that, it didn't happen. But I do think he's capable of playing at that level more consistently. But I think what's key for him is he has to learn how to affect different areas, how to have impact in different areas of the game. And when and if he figures that out, I think it helps him tremendously, and it sort of elevates him to a different tier. So no, long story short, or long story long, no, I haven't changed my tune. I still think that Jalen can learn from this and come back. Do I think you need to trade him? No. But should you? If, a handful of players are available and he's got to be in the deal? Absolutely. There's title windows aren't infinite in this league. So if you have a chance to get you a guy who can get you over the hump, then you go get him. And unfortunately for Jalen, he's part of the collection of assets that the Rockets are expected to have. So if one of those deals is available, then yeah, you absolutely trade him. But you don't just trade him for the sake of trading him either.
Jarrett, speaking of that conversation right there, right? Speaking of that specifically, it's been rumored they want somebody, this slender guy that's over in Phoenix.
I was about to say that.
They want another guy that's a kind of a slender frame as well over in Milwaukee. Giannis or KD? Which would be a better fit for the Houston Rockets if they're able to get either? Should they go after the Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant?
So, So it's hard because, all right, if you trade, potentially you go get Giannis and you trade Jalen Green, that frees up Amen Thompson, that you could play him full time at your shooting guard position, right? But the thing is, you have Thompson, Giannis, and Sengun. That's not going to be really good for spacing, right? But then if you go get KD, it's a little different because, KD's a great floor spacer. But it's like when KD's been on these new teams, it doesn't seem to go well. Hey, calm down. Doesn't seem to go well. So I don't know. It's hard. Me personally, I wouldn't give up on Jalen Green because I feel like he's still young. I think Rush, you said it last episode. It's just really his shot diet. I feel like you just kind of change how he approaches offense. Get him to play off the ball more, play cut in off the ball, setting screens for him. Try to not have him so much be ball dominant and shooting faded, contested 3-pointers all the time. I feel like it's a lot to change with his game, but it's fixable. Like to go out and kind of trade your young star, one of your young stars, for potentially KD, who's retiring probably in like 3 years, and Giannis. Giannis has probably got like another good 8 years in him. So I would say the best bet is Giannis, but to what extent because of the spacing on the floor? Fred, if he's there long term, which I've seen a report today that they're looking to extend him, and he's shooting like subpar 40. You got Thompson, who doesn't shoot the ball relatively well from range. Sengun's not a great shooter. Then Brooks is Brooks. He's streaky. So yeah, so it's like it's hard to say that you're gonna have a whole starting lineup who can't shoot threes on a consistent basis. I don't know. I would keep Green though. Your face with our friend says it all.
I didn't know if Rush was about to chime in on it.
I just think with this CBA and proof that just getting a big name doesn't automatically mean more success than you've already presently achieved. I just really, I'm really uneasy about just, we got bounced in the first round. As embarrassing as it was, right? You're 2 seed, you're expected to advance. Just blowing it up when you've got a young nucleus established for an aging or an older star just because they're a star. What has Giannis done in the last handful of years since they won the title? Right? Like, he hasn't had a lot of success in the first round. Look at Kevin Durant. And that's not to say that they can't have a sizable impact, but it's not guaranteed, right? Because they're not even winning and advancing on the teams that they're currently on. And Giannis plays with Dame and Kevin Durant plays with Devin Booker. So I don't know. Maybe you just kind of maybe take the OKC approach and build through the draft and trust your young nucleus to continue to get better. And maybe, not saying that Jalen Green is anywhere near the level of SGA, but maybe he becomes a lot closer to that 1A guy that you're looking for. Or maybe Sengun takes a step, or maybe Thompson takes a leap, right? And now you've got this core that you've got a little bit of runway with to try and contend for a championship. But I just think it's tough these days, and you can't just go out and blow it up, add a star, and then just expect that you're automatically going to be competing for a championship. It's a tricky situation, tricky decision. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make it. I get to talk about, people who do.
Yeah, I think it's something that they got to definitely be very cautious with doing that, because look at the Suns. We just got to add D-Book. We have D-Book. We got to add KD. We bring over Bradley, Bacchiotomy, Bill, and everything going to be good. It didn't turn out how they expected, and that would suck if you're a Houston team and you blow up that young nucleus, and now you're stuck with another first round exit or a Sun situation where you're in the play-in. That would be full regret regarding that. We talk about Jalen Green and his age, which is very, very true, and something that people have to keep in mind, because it was posted on our threads, and I don't know if y'all read the comments, but some of the comments were literally that. It wasn't grace given. No, the Thompson brothers, they did a good first round, and that was their first playoffs, and Sengun did good. Jalen Green should have stepped up. Hey, people have different viewpoints on it. A player that's not young anymore. James Harden. We've seen game sevens it does something to him. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out in a documentary after he retires. Maybe he has a one-on-one conversation with Taylor Rooks and he shares what's going on. But game sevens, big time moments when you need James Harden to show up. For whatever reason, he has not shown up. On the flip side, looking at Harden, is it time to give up on Harden being even a number 2 option, a number 3 option on a team that you need him to perform to be a championship contender? Is it that time to be like, hey, he's showing his colors. We don't need to try to paint him differently. He is ultimately a playoff failure.
Maybe. I don't know. So first of all, I made a post earlier in the year that said we're going to talk about James Harden a lot differently once he's retired and done playing. So that was me. So I acknowledge that, and I admit that. And I will say, in defense of myself, I did not mean strictly playoffs. I meant the totality of his career and the ways that he sort of changed the game. So you got to look at the full picture, full context. But I do think that after a certain point, with enough evidence, you sort of are what you are. And I think in the playoffs, he's sort of proven himself to not be someone that you can sort of lean on and trust in a game 7 situation. Now, ideally you wouldn't want to even get to game 7, right? So, you got to factor that in. But in a game 7, I don't think he is someone who can sort of be the focal point of your offense, so you can sort of put all your trust and faith in to deliver, because he just hasn't, and he's had a number of opportunities to do so. Which is slightly disappointing, because James Harden is an all-time great player in this league, and I think offensively in his prime, I won't say it's a short list, but it's not a huge list of players who were better than him. And he's had a couple all-time, offensively speaking, great seasons. And I hate that a lot of that is going to get lost in the sauce, so to speak, because of his shortcomings in the playoffs. But, it's just how it is, and that's how it goes. And I think it's all fair, and it's slightly disappointing, but I think he is who he is at this point, and I don't think it's somebody that you can count on, as the question was posed in the game 7 situation.
Hey, regarding that too, though, I think we will do a great job, at least over here, of making sure that isn't forgotten, because there's a lot of players that, for whatever reason, it could be team asset, it could be coaching, it could be something mental, which a lot of players don't actually open up saying that they had anxiety when it came to these big moments and they weren't able to perform. Yes, that is the biggest stage, but that's still only one moment of a entire career. For a perfect example, Jerry West, it sucked. That man never was able to beat the Celtics, never was able to show up. He did his part, but it never produced wins in the finals. He's still one of the great players of all time. Karl Malone and John Stockton, them jokers had to see Mike. Mike messed up their career in regards of the conversation of how people talk about them. Their name should come up way more often in conversations of the greats and all of those conversations, but it doesn't, because they didn't win. And there's other reasons why Karl Malone don't come up in a lot of conversations, but we ain't even going to touch on that on this episode right here. Jarrett, regarding the Clippers, man, you got Kawhi. Kawhi's playing about 27 games a year. He comes to the playoffs. He performs well, does what he's supposed to do. You have James Harden. That's supposed to be your number 2 option. Looking at his offseason, what do you think the Clippers should do concerning the roster? Because obviously the goal is a championship, and it's kind of proven at this point. If y'all end up in a game 7, Harden ain't going to show up. So do they need to make some changes? Do they need to add to the roster? What's your thoughts on this Clippers offseason coming up?
So, as we were talking about this, Bleacher Report just made a report that Lawrence Frank, the Clippers president, believes in duel despite first round exit and intends to keep Harden with Clippers. So, before I say this, I think Harden, to me, from all the basketball I have watched in my 34 years of living, I for me he is a top 5 offensive talent that I've ever witnessed. With that being said, though, I can't call him a playoff choker before he left the Rockets. Based on that Rockets team, he's taking them to game 7 against the Warriors, a dynasty with potentially 5 Hall of Famers: KD, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and potentially Iguodala, with just Chris Paul on his team, one of the Hall of Famers. So you're asking the Harden to go up against all-time great team with really one or two really good offensive players with Chris Paul, and Eric Gordon. So I thought, it would change when he went to the Sixers. And to let y'all know, I was a Sixers fan at a point in time. I was a fan of Embiid. And then that game seven against Boston, the year Embiid won MVP, they they didn't show up at all. It was bad. And that's when I realized, like, nah, I can't believe in Embiid. I can't believe in Harden no more. So honestly, I don't know what to say about Harden at this point because peak Harden was amazing, but like he adapted well to being a point guard in his later years and kind of being like just a pure floor general and picking his spots where to score. I don't know, man. Like it's for me, it's like game sevens is just like kind of his kryptonite. Maybe he has to be kind of like the fourth option on the team now, maybe fifth. Like maybe he needs to kind of like take more of a back seat when it comes to scoring the ball and just mostly kind of play kind of like the I don't want to say like the Kyle Lowry or Chris Paul role because he's way better than that. But like with the team that they had, I feel like they kind of he shouldn't have to take a lot of shots, but if it was a situation where Paul George was probably still there, then maybe he would have been kind of like the fourth or fifth option if Zubac was still having the year he's having now and Norman Powell. But I don't think they should move on with them, to be honest with you, because they're great regular season wise, but I just feel like maybe they just probably need more depth. Like I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a very complicated, touchy situation regarding that because, like I said, Kawhi plays about 18 and a half games during the regular season. Harden has to carry them throughout the regular season. Yeah, I get to a point where now we see it every year though. You got 2 or 3 good games from Harden. The rest of y'all gotta step up. Y'all gotta figure out somehow to prevent it from going to game 7 because it's not like he had a terrible series. That's what kind of gets forgotten in all of these conversations. You post the stats of the game 7s. You look at the entire series though. He typically has a pretty solid series, sometimes a great series, and it just doesn't produce winning the series. And that can't solely just be on him. It can't solely be on him. The game 7 losses is all on Harden's shoulders in a team sport. Did the coach do all the right plays? Did the right adjustments? And I'm not questioning Ty Lue. I think Ty Lue is one of the top 2 coaches in the league. But it's a lot of factors that surround those games that they lost. It's not solely on Harden, but something got to be done. What got to be done? I don't know. Like Rush said, it's great. I get to play GM on 2K. I ain't got to do it in real life. Lawrence Frank, good luck. Ty Lue, good luck. Rush, seemed like you about to chime in with maybe a suggestion to fix them.
No, I was just saying it's great, isn't it? Just sit up here on these podcasts and talk about stuff. We don't actually have to pull triggers on trades or make decisions on player or team options. Or, like it's pressure free. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see where the Clippers go from here because then it's not like they have a lot of options. I think Harden's got a player option, so he really controls his own future. And even if he were to opt out and leave, I don't know that leaves the Clippers with a ton of flexibility to sort of replace him. So you kind of have to ride with him at this point. You've made your bed. You sort of have to lie in it if you're Lawrence Frank and Clippers brass. So be very, very interesting to see how the summer goes for the Clippers. But it's very, very unfortunate with James Harden.
To your point too, though, Jarrett, of Paul George being there, I think it's safe to say, from what we saw this year, he would have been more podcast P than what the Clippers needed anyway. So they didn't get out the first round, but I still think they dodged a bullet with podcast P over in Philly over at Geno's and Pat's. So I think they good on that regard. Before we go into ending off our show with our last topic, which was given to from our followers, shout out to everybody that's supporting us, following us on Threads and all of our social media accounts. Specifically, another question that was asked, shout out to Chris Lindsay Hoops. He asked, do you think in this series, specifically for that Knicks and Celtics, that record that we talked about it on our pod, that they weren't able to beat the Celtics, the Cavs, or the Thunder, do you think that's going to have a direct effect on this series where you might see a situation, Jarrett, y'all might get swept because y'all weren't able to beat them all regular season?
I don't think they're going to get swept. Knicks in 7. That's what I want to say. Knicks in 7. But I mean, like
It's
I got
4-point game in the fourth quarter right now. 9
yeah,
minutes.
they on 25-8 run right now. But yeah, I mean, the regular season definitely is an indication of what potentially can happen. But I feel like the Knicks have, I mean, like you said in the beginning of the episode, so Brunson steps up to a whole nother level in the postseason. Um, OG as well, Josh Hart, like they're big playoff performers. Cat on the other hand, I mean, Cat plays good during the playoffs. He just struggles with foul trouble, but he does play good relatively in the playoffs. So don't think it's going to be a sweep. I'm rooting for the Knicks to go in 7, but that record does scare me though. Haven't been a top team all year. Definitely something to be worried about.
So we're talking about worrying and things to be concerned about. The WNBA is back in full effect. Preseason has happened, and we've seen yet again some unexplainable players being cut. Obviously, it's been discussed ad nauseum. It's not enough teams. It's not enough roster spots. They don't protect their rookies enough. Speaking on everything in that regard of the business side of it and the games, what has been your biggest takeaway so far with preseason basketball for the WNBA being back in full effect?
Well, for me, I'm just excited that it's back. And last season was tremendous. I think the league experienced just explosive growth in terms of notoriety and popularity. A lot of games got moved to bigger venues. Ticket prices, were up, and there's obviously a lot more interest in the game now. Or there continues to be growing interest in the game. Excuse me. And I think with that, it sort of helps bring awareness to people, the point that you made, Tone, and how it is based on just the structure of the league, the most competitive professional sports league in terms of being able to make a team. Like, outside of like lotto picks, just because you got drafted don't mean that spot is guaranteed. And it's unfortunate. I hate it for these athletes. They're all capable and deserving of a spot, but there's just only so much room. So we know that there are going to be a number of teams added to the league over the next, over the coming seasons. Starting with the Valkyrie out in the Bay Area. So hopefully some of that works itself out, over the next few years, but it's going to continue to be, ultra competitive in terms of being able to make a squad. And then I like what the league has been doing and putting certain players in certain arenas in certain cities with these preseason games, like Caitlin Clark and the NFever played in Iowa, and same thing with Angel Reese. So just the league is just doing a lot of creative things, I think, to continue to generate buzz and putting these players in markets where there aren't currently WNBA teams has been pretty creative, and just continuing to sort of stoke that fire and build that momentum. But for me, it's all about the Dallas Wings, baby.
Before Jarrett goes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No. You got it. Go ahead, QB. You got it, QB.
No. Because I'm a comment on the Dallas Wings. Go
yeah. No, I'm just saying. It's all about that for me. I mean, we had a rough To make it clear, I'm 100% bandwagon this season. So it's not like I've been a Wings fan all my life. I absolutely have not. I became a Wings fan the moment Paige got drafted. But I've always loved Enrique because she's 100% pure hooper. But yeah, it's all about the Wings for me. And we had a rough go of it against the Aces. I mean, they're the Aces, but I like the Wings to do well this season, and we've got a couple of good rookies on our squad. Paige and as I believe from NC State. So, and she played well in the preseason game too. So I'm excited.
I'm gonna say this, and Jarrett, you could take it because I definitely want to hear your input on if the WNBA system is broken with how things are going. And regarding the Valkyries, Cheyenne Sellers today was picked up by the Atlanta Dream. So the rich get richer. I like that pickup for them. That's a really nice pickup. It's not that many 6'2" point guards out in the W, just out there roaming around. So I think it's probably going to hurt the Valkyries in the long run, making a decision like that. Like I said, Jared, you could touch on WNBA system being broken and things of that nature. But on the Dallas Wings, something that I heard that was a little concerning for me, and I've said this about her entire career. Paige mentioned playing with Enrique, and she's like, I'm just happy to be here, and I could just really just get a ball to Enrique and get out the way and watch her go off. No, Paige. No, y'all both can be killers. I feel she has been super passive in her entire career. I feel like it's another level that she could go to, but she's playing on UConn, surrounded by other All-Americans. Cool, you don't have to do that. Now you get put on a team, you get drafted with a team with Enrique, a superstar in herself. But you being passive ain't going to help the Dallas Wings be productive. Y'all could have a situation where it's the deadliest backcourt in the W. If you come with the same killer mindset, not saying that she's obviously going to do that where she doesn't shoot during the game, but to say that's where your mentality is at. I personally don't like it. I want her to come in and kill. And it was a tough situation because she got drafted there. I think if she got drafted to a team, just throwing it out there, no shade to you, Jarrett, but drafted like the Mystics, where you don't have an Enrique, we get to see that another level, which I think she can go to. I think she could have that Caitlin Clark type of rookie season because there's not much surrounding on that team. But that was my input on that. And yes, shout out to my Aces. I like what I see so far. I like what I saw in that game. But Jarrett, is the WNBA system broken, and what have you liked so far in this preseason?
So I do feel like it is broken in a way. Only it's weird because it's like you draft Sellers and you waive her before the season even starts, and it's like they supposedly the reason was the best 15 fit, not even like the most talented, just the fit. And I mean, it doesn't seem like Cheyenne is a person who's not going to fit into any roster, especially being a 6'2" point guard who is the only player to reach 1,500 points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists in Maryland history. Think about that. You have a versatile guard who could do everything on the court. Why would you not use her? So shout out to the Dream for picking her up. Very good pickup. Um, but I feel like like Rush said, this is like the most competitive league to get into. Um, it's weird because it's like with them, who would be the starting point guard now? Would be Kate Martin. Like it's like I don't see who would be starting over her. To be honest with you, but
So it might be because the Valkyries, it seemed like they really like the overseas, as we saw in the draft, the overseas pick. So maybe she starts Carla Light, maybe she goes with Caitlin Chen. Looking at the roster, like you said, maybe Kate Martin, but Kate Martin's not really a point guard. You look at the roster.
They got Van Loo, right?
Yeah, they got Van Loo.
They might start her.
5'8" from Belgium. You had a 6'2" rookie point guard, bro, that does everything. No, I'm looking at the roster. There's no disrespect to the women on the roster. And it's not to them, it's to the front office. You got a 6'2" point guard. Mind you, the tallest person on the roster is 6'3". So you got a 6'2", the second tallest person on your team. Would have been at your point guard position, running the floor, getting shots for Kate Martin, getting Kayla Thornton involved, and y'all decided to cut up because it wasn't a good fit. Man, this irks my nerves. The W does it as of right now. This is what has to be part of that new CBA. Protect your rookies. I'm a first-round draft pick, and I'm cut. I don't even see a game yet. I don't touch the floor of a regular season game with the team that drafted me as a first-round pick. They have to change something. I'm not a part of those meetings, and again, this is the same conversation, probably the theme of the episode. I'm glad I'm not Nika, and I ain't got to be in the CBA meetings trying to figure this out. I'm glad I'm not Calthy Engelbert on the other side as the owner trying to negotiate this with the players. Y'all don't have to copy the NBA to the fullest degree, but on some level, the first round pick should have guaranteed contracts. They should be able to be on the roster for 2 years at least. That way it's protection for both sides, and that way it forces the teams to actually play these rookies, because that's a common thing too that we've seen over the last couple of years. You draft these rookies and they have all of this cachet and they have this fan base coming from college, and you say, you know what? I want to play the 30-year-old woman who don't nobody really know. That don't make no sense. That makes no sense, especially if you're trying to grow. And again, it's that balancing act. Of course, you need your vets on the team. But come on. What are you drafting these players for and then shelf them? And then you end up being able to comp them and they don't play. And we're seeing it so far in the preseason too. Caitlin is injured. You played her a bunch of minutes. And the rookies played about 2-3 minutes. How are you going to get to see them in game action and then decide if they're going to make the roster? That's the same thing in the NBA when you get these players, these 10-day contracts. And then you don't play them out of the 10 days, but one game for 5 minutes and be like, it's not going to work. Negro, you ain't playing me. How we know it's not going to work? Practice? In the words of Iverson, we talk about practice. Practice? Not the game that I love. Practice? It's the W is going in the right direction. The CBA is going to be huge. All of that to say the CBA coming up, those negotiations are going to be major in how it goes going forward. We see the vision. It could really take off. They got to get the CBA negotiations right. I mean to cut you off, Jarrett. It just annoys the heck out of me, bro. These women ball out their whole college career, put themselves in a position to be drafted as a first round pick, and I'm cut the same season or I'm cut the following season, and y'all leaving roster spots for overseas players that get to come over here at 18, 19, but the girls that's here have to wait till 21, 22. Come on, man. They got to
actually
negotiate this
about that
correctly.
too, because I feel like that's kind of unfair to the players over here, especially when you're trying to grow the WNBA market as a fan base. Like you having these players come in, you have to wait 4 years, and the girls overseas only got to be 19. That's not fair. You're not going to grow in viewership if you bring in overseas players. We don't know that. So bringing more players that we actually know, especially like the ones that are actually really good. So yeah, I feel like that needs to be changed too. Um, I did ask Kiki, Ariafin, and Juju about that one time. Juju gave me a very good answer about it. Kiki didn't want to, but I'll have plenty of time to interview Kiki since she's on the Mystics now. But I'm also with Rush on the Page boat. I am a Wings fan as well now because of Paige once she got drafted. So we are rooting for the same team this year, brother.
Hey, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not gonna hold you. If the Aces somehow don't pick up Juju when Juju hit that scene, if they don't pick up, man, I'll probably be switching teams too. Long as they fix the CBA once Juju comes, and for those that end up watching this later, again, the next game is on live right now, so that's why you saw that reaction from Jarrett. Yeah, he's feeling it right there. So
that back was nasty.
That joint was crazy. That joint was
Hey, I might
crazy.
have to move. Hey, Jalen Brunson, keep it up. I might have to move him up on my All NBA list.
Listen, man.
Jalen Brunson, clutch player, and we will talk about this next episode. Depending on how this series goes, whether they win or lose, we will have that discussion because that's come up too on ESPN. But I think it's actually a well warranted discussion, and I would like to have it with Jarrett on one of these episodes coming up on where Jalen Brunson ranks all time amongst Knicks. Knicks, respectfully, ain't seen that many championships, so I understand why you could have Ewan and Ewan and Frazier over him because Frazier actually has the ring and then Ewan has the long-term success. That's a conversation I think worth having because what we see, like I said at the beginning of the episode, the highest point differential increase in NBA history in the playoffs belongs to Jalen Brunson. There you have it right there. I'm going to let my man continue watching the game. We are done on this episode. Smash that like button, like, share, subscribe. Again, tell everybody about this podcast. If they are basketball lovers, the Corner 3 is the podcast for you. Peace.